Welcome back, everyone. So today I have a special guest, a very, very, very special guest that you probably won't hear this introduction too often. But the strategic human firewall. That is, I didn't make that up. The strategic human firewall, cybersecurity specialist, Robert Siciliano. I told you I was going to butcher that.
Perfect.
Just, just a habit. And before I even give him the floor, I want you to know I am officially apologizing on camera to him that I messed up somehow and missed the interview the first time. He has given me the honor to redeem myself and come back and interview with me so we could do this whole process again. So I apologize. And Mr. Siciliano, I told you I'm going to do it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I appreciate you humbly coming to me without holding it over my head. I appreciate it. Thank
Hey,
you.
it is my pleasure to be here, and thank you so much for the opportunity.
See, that's very grateful, very, very humble guy. So tell me more about this, the strategic human firewall. That's not something that I see very often pop up in someone's, specifications. Like, tell me about that.
So I've been speaking and training people and at employees at corporations and attendees at conferences, an association event for 30 as much as 40 years. I've been doing security awareness training all of my professional life. And really what that is it's teaching people, how to avoid and remove themselves from various, forms of fraud and violence and, dangerous situations, whatever that might be in online and or in the physical world, right? And so doing that all my life, I've come to the conclusion that like we need a methodology, and I've developed this over the course of my career. We need a methodology that like is really easy to understand and to implement and to execute, that essentially allows us to defend ourselves, in the both the physical and virtual world. We all know what a firewall is, or at least we have a basic understanding of what a firewall is. It's like designed to, protect at least, our data on our devices from criminal hackers on the internet. And that firewall is designed to act as a wall to, prevent intrusion, right? In a physical world, like in a home or in a building, a firewall is literally designed to, protect the inner inside of that space from catching on fire. That might be in the form of like sheetrock or whatever the case is, and a human firewall is a basic understanding of managing risk. It's knowing what to do when the phone rings, when an email comes in, or you get one of those wrong number text messages. It's knowing how to react and how to respond should, some bad actor choose you when you're out and about. It's just a basic understanding of managing risk and knowing what personal power we possess, both, intellectually and physically, that gives us, the tools necessary to effectively react should something happen.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and say right now, as we were, you were explaining that and we were talking here, um, I want to say that I have developed a new deep fear of you and the knowledge. I love how the fact that you embrace change. You said you've been doing this for 30 plus years, and again, the internet has evolved. So many cybersecurity things have changed and evolved. And I love how the fact that you like to level up and develop yourself. So learning is obviously one of the passions that you're very passionate about. But that's not what stuck with me. What stuck with me, again, I'm a nerd. So what stuck with me was the Batman over your right shoulder. But the further up you go, there's a Punisher there too. So I
Oh
was
yeah.
like, oh my God, look at this, yeah. So that's one of those things. It kind of it drew my attention. I said,
Yeah. So
okay, so
I just did Fox in Orlando. They connected to me via Zoom, and I covered up the Punisher when I do TV because They get a little sketchy on that.
Oh, it's so I was questioning why not Iron Man, but I understand the dark the brooding aspect of the character, so I was like, oh, that's perfectly fine. I get it, but yeah, I like how you put that up there, which made me a little bit more terrified. The Batman always has a plan, and the Punisher always has a response. So it's like I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I'm gonna take my Captain America stuff down now, but no. So obviously learning is your passion and being development in the passion. Like, so where do you see yourself and what do you see that's coming that most people or the average person won't see or like what should we be prepared for?
So, doing what I do and understanding how people react to basic risk. When I say risk, it's like I said, every time the phone rings, or you get an email or a text message, like there's risk there because there's all kinds of, bad actors out there that are using those communication mediums to contact you and me and our mom and trying to get us to, give out our passwords or our credit card numbers or,
Right.
get us to wire money to them. Like they use 1,000 different ruses that often are very effective. They know what they're doing. They know how to tap into our emotions. They know how to get us to react. They use all kinds of fear based techniques, and many of us succumb to those frauds and scams. And so what has me concerned, and it should have everybody concerned, is the introduction of artificial intelligence and how not AI itself, but like deep fakes and voice cloning. Deep
Right.
fakes, of course, are when someone uses a technology to impersonate you and I. They use our video, they use our audio, and they can put together a perfect avatar of our likeness that and make us say and do things that we did not say and do, and that can be you or I. It could be our loved one. It could be your daughter who's posting to Snapchat or whatever, Facebook Reels or anything. Their kids are always we're always posting something online, right? And
Right.
grabbing any of that audio and using that like to call you or me or whatever and say, her, you might hear a man's voice on the phone and you hear your daughter screaming in the background. And it's really just a man who's committing a scam who grabbed your daughter's, audio and turned that into screaming and pleading for help and trying to extort money from you. Like that's a real scam that people are becoming aware of, like, similar to the grandparent scam that's been around for 15 years. And the grandparent scam still works. And lots of people know about it, but they're still getting hooked by it, and the new ones with the AI, it's very hard to defend yourself against that because when you actually hear like the real voice of a loved one, and it is the real voice of a loved one, even though it's an AI voice clone, it's still the real voice. Like when I say that, I mean it's perfect. You cannot tell the difference, which means like it's truly the real voice. And other than that, like with deepfake video, uh, what I'm concerned about is humans are just not prepared for any of this. We've been trusting digital media, we've been trusting TV, we've been trusting the, the printed word all of our lives, and all of a sudden, like it's changed in such a way where you can't tell real from fake, and that should be concerning to people, especially if you're not engaged in the process of recognizing basic, text messages, emails, phone calls. Is this fraud? Is it not? Paying attention to that basic stuff. And that's a lot of people.
Right. I literally talk about this in a class that I teach. Every couple of weeks we talk about fraud and fraud training and the cycles of fraud. And I like to tell them at the start of it that the speed of information and the speed of technology do not travel at the same pace, and it's up to us to be diligent about it, to trying to catch up to things that we are unaware of. So it's like I said, I know you have a passion for learning because you have to be, and you have to be diligent about this. So what examples do you have or something that somebody can start to take that initiative to becoming unaware, to being more involved or being more diligent about just absorbing the information, making your job a little easier?
So it starts with developing a certain mindset, a certain appreciation for security, right? So I've developed like this understanding over the years, like that first and foremost, my perspective of security. And once people like kind of grasp this and once they kind of look at the big picture here, they begin to recognize that like, okay, this is something that I can do. This is within my capacity. And eventually they see this as something that they want to do. But you have to first kind of like flesh it all out, right? So if you look at all security as being personal, personal to you, personal to your being, right? All security is personal starts with like physical security, preventing violence, preventing somebody from doing you physical harm, right? Understanding self-defense, right? Just the basic concept of that and the truth of it is that you should know at some level how to physically defend yourself. Like that's a good thing to know. It's a good, tool of life is the understanding self-defense, right? But with that being said, all security being personal is more than just protecting your physical being. What's more personal than your identity? Protecting your identity, right? And so, starting with that basic one thing, protecting your identity, certainly you can make an investment in like identity theft protection, but for free, and this is an easy thing to do, you can get what's called a credit freeze. So, a credit freeze is a tool that's available to everybody for free through the credit bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. And all of us should have a credit freeze. So, I've had a credit freeze since February of 2008, which is when it first became available. So that's going on what, like, I don't know, years. And that said, once your credit's frozen and the bad guy gets your social security number, they really can't do much with your identity because your credit's frozen. They can't open up new lines of credit. They can't essentially get loans under your name. So freezing your credit is like the first step to taking control, which is what security is all about. It's about gathering or gaining a level of control. It's about executing strategies to reduce risk. And one of those first things you should do is get a credit freeze. And once that's done, like you don't have to worry about giving out your social security number. Not that you should give it out like all the time for no reason, but like even on an application for credit or for an insurance application, whatever the case is, like when they need your social, you can rest assured that you're going to be good. I've had criminal hackers email me my social security number. Hey, security guy, here's your social, ha ha. Basically flexing their muscle, showing me how cool they are, and I could care less. So freezing your credit is like the first step to protecting yourself, taking control, engaging in a level of personal security. And once you accomplish that one small thing, then you start looking at, okay, so what else can I do? And the next thing that everybody really needs to do, when I say everybody, I'm talking like 80 to 90% of the population has essentially failed at this, which is kind of not good. So when I get in front of a live audience, I'll talk to, a few hundred people and I ask the audience, raise your hand. How many of you can honestly say that you're using a different passcode across all your critical accounts, which means you're never using the same passcode twice? How many of you are doing that? If I get 15% of the room to raise their hand, that's a lot, which means like 85% of the room is using the same passcode across multiple accounts. And that's generally every presentation that I do. That's the general public. And then I say, well, how many of you are using two-factor authentication, which of course is when you plug in your username, you plug in your passcode, and you get a one-time text message. How many of you are using two-factor? If I get 20% of the room to raise their hand, that's a lot, which means 80 plus percent are not using two-factor. And so what most people don't realize is that there are as many as 15 billion passwords on the dark web right now. I'm going to repeat that. Right now on the dark web, there's about 15 billion passwords on the dark web. And so that means that pretty much all of our passwords, at least the ones that we've been using like for years and years and years, are on the dark web. And when people, say, "Oh, my information's in the dark web," I'm like, "Well, yeah, it is, of course. Yeah, no question about it. Your information is on the dark web." "Oh, what do I do?" Well, there's really not much you can do to get it off, but what you should do is make the data the bad guys have useless to the thief. And so you understanding this because you mentioned, talking about this in class, like how would you make a password useless to a thief? That was a
Change
question.
everything.
Change your
Change,
questions. Yeah.
change everything.
Change your passwords, right? So and that also means never having a password, the same password twice. And so how would you never have the same password twice?
There's a generator that you can use and like save all that stuff. And I kind of talk about that too, like using a different generator, using different word plays, capital letters, all kinds of
Yeah,
different.
yeah. That is definitely effective. And in addition to that, I would suggest using a password manager. So a password manager is a software that we can download generally for a small fee, sometimes free. I pay for mine. It's about $20 a year. And that same password manager is on the laptop that I'm using right in front of me. It's on my mobile phone. It's on a tablet that I own. It's on another mobile phone that I have as a backup. It's on two of my daughter's devices. It's on my wife's machine. Like the password manager is ubiquitous in my life. And so anytime I want to create a password, the password manager has a generator. And then when I sign up for a new website, that new website requires a username and a passcode. I generate a credential for that new website, and the password manager saves those credentials for me going forward. So next time I want to visit that website, I just go to the password manager. I click a single button, and it takes me right to that website. Goes to the login, plugs in my username, plugs in my passcode, and usually I'll get a text message with the second two-factor authentication, which because I have two-factor authentication on everything, and now I'm in. And that process might seem complicated, but it's truly not. The password manager that I've had for we're going on like 22 years has been great. It's the best use of my time and my money and my privacy and my security that I can think of, And when we're not doing the basic things like, protecting our identity, using a credit freeze, changing up our passcodes, using a password manager, setting up two-factor authentication for all your critical accounts. If we're not doing those basic things, then we're making it easy for the bad guy, right? And the bad guy has always been around. They're always going to be here. They're never going anywhere. They're going to be continually looking for the next target. And our job is to become a hardened target. So you do those basic things back to the original question. Those basic things are what get you into a mindset that is about managing risk. It's about becoming a tougher target. It's about doing things to make the bad guy's job harder. And once you do that, well, they're going to move on to, unfortunately, to somebody else, but it's not you, and because you've done what you're supposed to do to, take care of yourself and your family.
That's a great answer. Again, like I may actually, share this with the next generation of people that cycle through because hearing it from an expert is something completely different than hearing it from me. But I love what you're saying and I love what you're doing, and the importance of it is not wasted on me as far as, the AI and the deep fakes and the different understandings of technology and how they function and how to protect yourself against them. It's a way of knowledge, but now, what would you suggest them to arm them with the information to like, being more aware of being more in tune to things in their surroundings? Because I know in this life right now we have like this whirlwind of information that's just like flying at us constantly, and it's kind of hard to pivot and catch up. In the days of my growing up, I'm dated, I'm older, so I'm older than I look. I'm just gonna say that. So in my days of like growing up in that, it was like that information was scarce, that building of knowledge was very scarce, and it was hard to tell my parents that I had to take typewriting classes, or it was hard to take it was I mean, I grew up and AOL was still on a disc. Okay, so like I come from that generation, and I see that gap. I see that gap of information of I just happen to be a nerd. And again, I'm sure we share some of the same circles, judging by the Batman and the Punisher, that we understand that sort of thing. But where would somebody like that start? In that knowledge that like, where can I go to educate myself? Where can I go to, some of these people may not even have turned on a computer before.
Yeah, well, the good news is there's just like you mentioned, so much information out there. And tons of wonderful resources. Certainly, I would say head to my website as one of them. I've broken down all the issues that you and I face, and there's no way you're older than me. I'm 57. I mean, I've been. There's no way you're older than I am. I was born in
I'll let you have it. I'll
1968.
let you have
Yeah.
it.
And, and yeah, I mean, I grew up in the era when, the parents let us out at like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, and we come home at like 8, 9 o'clock at night, and we're filthy and we're bleeding and we haven't eaten. And, or if we did, we ate, cookies over our friend's house, and, we're just like scarred up and, knees bleeding from falling down and skateboarding and, and it was just a much simpler time. Now, there's more to know, and there's more to do, and there's more to, I guess, deal with. And the information to again manage that risk is out there at your fingertips. It's merely a simple search away. How do I protect myself from identity theft? How do I secure my home? Build me a 10-step, list on personal protection or protecting my data or identity. Like all of that is right at your fingertips via ChatGPT or Google's Gemini or just going on YouTube. There's 1,000 videos. It's all right there. My website being one of them, protectnowllc.com. But from there, once you engage in those best practices that work for you, where you are in your life, whether you're a family person or whether you're single, whether you've got kids or not, like you look at how do I protect myself and or my spouse and or my kids and what the risks that they're facing. And once you dive into this stuff, it's like anything else. If you want to learn how to get physically fit, if you want to, put a couple of pounds in your, upper chest or your back or your arms, you learn how to, eat the right foods in order to bulk up in protein and how many push-ups and sit-ups and pull-ups and it's like anything else. You want to learn how to eat good. You learn how to shop properly and buy the right foods and less sugar and less carbs or whatever the case is. Like anything you want to do, obviously the information's out there. And when it comes to security, for most people, it's just a matter of wanting to engage in the process of security. And once you make that effort, then all the information's at your fingertips. The problem is getting people to want to engage in security, and this is the whole reason why I'm here is because too many people don't. And I get the constant, it can't happen to me. These things only happen to other people. And what I'm seeing now, and I've been doing this like forever, is I've never seen more high dollar fraud. When I say high dollar, I'm talking like 6 and 7 figure fraud happening to our our moms and our dads. I've never seen more high dollar fraud happening in such a short concentrated period of time. And when I say short concentrated period of time, I mean like within the past couple of years, I'm seeing people lose a $500,000. I'm seeing, moms and dads, end up homeless, bankrupt, because they're just losing everything. Because not because they're getting hacked, because they're getting scammed. And with AI and criminals knowing that our moms and dads, like baby boomers and such, they are the most moneyed people on the planet. They actually have about $124 trillion. So the baby boomers in our lives have $124 trillion of wealth that they've accumulated over the course of their working lives. So everything from compounded interest to their Roth IRA to their pension and annuity, compounded interest, they paid off their homes. Their homes are worth, 6 and 7 figures. All of that wealth eventually is being transferred to us, Gen X, Gen Y, millennials, Gen Z, all that, right? That money is the target of the bad guys right now. The bad guys see that this generation, boomers, and the greatest generation, those that are still left, that they're targeting that cash because the boomers are the most moneyed, the least technically savvy. They are the most trusting humans left on the planet. They're very trusting. They trust authority. They trust digital media. They trust what they read. They trust who's calling them on the phone. They just trust more than everybody else does. They're cognitively declining because they are. I mean, we all are, but they are at a faster rate. And 25% of all humans, including the boomers, are lonely. Like their default when they wake up out of bed every day, 25% of all humans experience loneliness regularly. And that's a very normal, natural, they call it the pain and the ache of loneliness, similar to hunger pains. Like we all experience hunger pains so that we would go towards and find and forage for food to nourish our body, to sustain ourselves. We need food, and hunger pains are designed to make us go for find food. Well, the pain and ache of loneliness is designed to make us go find humans to procreate. It's a very normal, natural thing. But when 25% of us are regularly feeling like that, and criminals know this, they use all of everything that I just said against us. They use it to snare us, to hook us. And that's problematic. It's problematic because most of us don't engage in basic one-on-one security practices because we don't want to think that these things are going to happen to us. And that process of it not happening to me, that is a form of denial that most of us function under regularly. Like if you're watching the 6 o'clock news and something bad happens in a neighborhood somewhere, something tragic, and the local news station walks in the neighborhood with the cameraman and a reporter. The reporter knocks on the neighbor's door, and the neighbor comes outside, and they stick the microphone in the neighbor's face. I'll ask you, what does the neighbor always say?
Oh, depending on the situation, if he was such a nice guy, or or you know that doesn't happen here, or you know that whole situation. Yeah, it just depends on the type of
Yeah,
involvement.
that doesn't happen here. They always say the same thing. I've been hearing that my entire life. Well, if everybody's saying that, if everybody says that doesn't happen here, isn't it safe to say that eventually it's going to happen here because everybody says the same thing? Like it's going to happen somewhere. Why not here? Like statistically, it's just a matter of time. The point of that is that people don't want to think or believe that these things are going to happen here. Nobody truly ever wants to acknowledge that bad things can ever happen to them. And why would they? Nobody wants to think about those things, of course. And I'm not saying that you need to worry about that. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying like that we just truly would rather not think that these things will ever happen to us because it's scary. And who wants to be scared? Who wants to live in fear? Nobody wants to live in fear. But that's not what security is. Security is about managing risk. It's about putting systems in place so that you reduce the chances of something like that happening. It's being proactive. It's no different than, consuming fluids so you don't get dehydrated. It's no different than eating healthy so you don't die of, a heart attack. It's no different than taking a walk to get your cardio going so that you live a healthy life. Like security is no different than any other aspect of making your of wellness. It's keeping things going. But we just kind of put the cover over our heads and think, oh, it's just not going to happen to me. And that denial thing is not effective. When I ask my audiences, like, how many of you have a home security system? I'll ask a live audiences of 500 people, how many of you have a home security system? Usually I get like 10, maybe 15% of the room says, yeah, I got a home security system, which is a lot, right? And then I ask, okay, so why don't you have a home security system? And the most common answer, and people all agree, they say, well, I don't have a home security system because I don't want to live like that. I don't want to live in fear. I just want to be free. Well, what does that actually mean? Well, what they're saying is, and as you flesh it all out, they're saying, well, I don't want to have to come home every day and disable an alarm system and that be a constant reminder that there's bad actors out there that might want to harm me. I don't want to have to think about that. I just want to like live free. So what they're truly saying is, I would just rather not even acknowledge
Hmm.
risk. And frankly, that's just silly when you think
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
And that's a lot of people. And so, like, taking responsibility first and foremost is knowing, like, okay, the likelihood of it happening to me is probably pretty slim, which it is, whatever it is, it's probably pretty slim. But, there's a chance. And similar to like, I put my seatbelt on because it's the smart thing to do. I should probably, like, maybe consider a home security system. I should probably, like, freeze my credit because it makes sense. It's the smart thing to do. I should probably change up my passcodes because there's 15 billion passcodes in the dark web. I should probably change them. And to facilitate that process, it does make sense that I should get a password manager. Like these are common sense things. And none of this is like, you need to arm yourself with a howitzer because bad guys are coming and you're the next target. Like that's none of this. You know, there's no drama here. It's all actionable strategies to reduce risk.
So I have to ask you because we reached this point where I kind of have to ask, what keeps you motivated?
You know, I'm a girl dad. I'm a
Oh,
girl
well, we
dad.
have that in common.
I'm a girl dad. And like when you are a single guy, and you eventually end up with girls, it's kind of like a karma thing. At least to me, it is.
I
And
agree.
yeah, and I would say that like I'm a better human today because I'm a girl dad. I would say that I possess a tremendous amount or more of empathy and understanding and patience than I ever did. I just think that being a girl dad has just made me a better human. And at this point, my entire motivation is just to make sure that they and my honey just breathe a little easier based on
Right.
what I do every day. My motivation is to make sure that they breathe easy, and that's it. It's that's what I'm here for.
I can completely relate to that. A girl dad here, and throughout my years in life, I have raised eight.
Oh, jeez.
Eight girls I have raised and been involved with. So, you said it was a karma thing. I don't know what I did, but apparently I'm very sorry. It's I joke and I kid, but yeah, altogether it's girls. So I get you.
Hey,
Um, so
man.
I love what you said, and I may have to do a deeper dive with you at some point and get you back, or get more insight from you, more intel from you. But in the meantime, would you mind telling everyone out there how to find you, how to get in touch with you, how to do all that good stuff?
So yeah, you can certainly Google me, Robert Siciliano, Siciliano. I'm all over socials. I own like the first three pages of search. Not many of us out there. And then my website. I think I mentioned it. Protectnowllc.com. Again, protectnowllc.com.
Awesome. So Mr. Siciliano, I did it that time. I did it great. Uh, thank you very much. I'm going to post this everywhere and make sure that we can try to get all this information out there.
Yeah, I will
Um,
share the heck out of this. This is important.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and I
Every
hope I
day
can
is
have
a
you back.
blessing.
Absolutely.
The
I'll
time we
anytime.
spend together. All we can do is promote change. 24 hours better.